When I first got my Lincoln Pro MIG 180, I figured I'd tough it out and learn on my own as I went. It didn't take long to realize that I wasn't a natural welder and that there's going to be some practice involved. Thankfully, Lincoln includes this Learning to Weld booklet with the machine. Reading just a few pages of this booklet gave me some insight on how to hold a welding gun, and some of that information helped me understand why I was doing this to the contact tips. It turns out they got a good reason for telling you to keep this contact tip 3/8 to 1/2 an inch away from the work. The book talks about things like the angle you should hold the gun at, which direction to go, and how far to keep the contact tip from the work. I found out on my own that if you drag this tip around in a puddle of metal, it ruins it real quick. Another problem I identified early on was this handheld shield that came with the kit. It does a good job, but you have to position the gun, put the shield in front of your face and squeeze the trigger and hope you stayed where you wanted to be. That just isn't a hot setup for somebody that doesn't know how to weld yet. That's when I added this Hobart Auto Shield helmet to my welding equipment. Being able to see through the shield to position the gun before you strike the arc makes this a whole lot easier, plus I can use my other hand to help steady the gun. With the single state lens and a handheld shield, it wouldn't let you see anything until you actually struck the arc, and that illuminated the area. With the auto shade lens and the new helmet, I could clearly see what I was doing, plus I had both hands free to help steady the gun or hold the work. If you're learning how to weld, I think one of these helmets with the auto shade lens is mandatory. Somewhere between adding that helmet and the practice I was doing, my welds were going from really bad to not quite so bad. With a little more practice, I was actually able to go back and fix some of my earlier welds and get my welding cart completed. I spent the last couple of days in my first week with my new welder just making beads on plates. I'd read the book some and make some more beads, and things were getting a little better. I even practiced welding two pieces at a 90-degree angle to each other together. The welds were starting to look better, plus I was able to bridge this gap as the metal warped while I was welding. As the booklet kept telling me to, I was watching the puddle more and learning to move that around as I needed. Probably the most important thing I learned during my first week with the welders is that there's no substitute for practice. I had invested some time and burned up my first 2-pound spool of wire, but things were getting better.